Welcome back to part 3 of our deep dive into the world of jump scares. Before we dive into today's topic, I just want to mention that I've upgraded my setup with a new microphone, so you should notice a bump in audio quality. I'm excited to see how it enhances your viewing experience. Now, if you've been following along, you know that the first two parts we covered quite a bit of ground. We started with the history of jump scares, tracing their evolution through different media. Then we explored the psychological aspects, like the startle response, and how anticipation plays a crucial role. Today, we're going even deeper, so let's just jump right in. Oh, yeah, before I start, if you wanted to check out part 1 or 2, there should be a playlist linked in the top right. Ghost hunting shows and documentaries have gained significant popularity over the years, drawing in audiences with the promise of real life paranormal encounters and spine chilling moments. However, a critical examination of these shows reveals that many of the so called scares are not genuinely paranormal, but are instead the result of cleverly timed jump scares designed to manipulate the audience's emotions.
Up and call it a night, honestly. Dude, you good? Dude,
These tactics often rely on the anticipation of fear rather than any actual evidence of the supernatural, which can undermine the credibility of the content.
Lighter.
One of the key ways that jump scares are utilized in ghost hunting shows is through the careful build-up of tension. These shows often feature long sequences where the hosts explore dark, abandoned buildings or purportedly haunted locations. The atmosphere is intentionally eerie, with dim lighting, creaking floorboards, and ominous music creating a sense of dread. This setup primes the audience to expect something terrifying to happen at any moment. Throughout these segments, the host will often react to small, inconsequential noises,
What was that?
as if they're significant paranormal events. These reactions serve to heighten the tension, making the audience believe that a ghostly encounter is imminent. However, in many cases, the noises are either mundane or intentionally created by the production team for the purpose of suspense. When a jump scare finally occurs, it's often sudden and loud.
That was very fast.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and bring out this device.
Dude, that sounds like someone's up there just pacing around.
Yeah. Airplane mode.
For example, a loud noise might erupt out of nowhere, accompanied by frantic reactions from the hosts.
Hello! Guys, that was around the corner.
These scares are typically fleeting, offering little to no follow-up or explanation, leaving the audience to wonder that what they saw or heard was genuinely paranormal or just a well-timed trick.
Buried?
In many ghost hunting shows, these jump scares are strategically placed at regular intervals to maintain the audience's interest. However, upon closer inspection, it becomes clear that these moments are often devoid of any real investigative substance. Instead of providing compelling evidence of ghosts or the supernatural, the shows rely on the element of surprise to create a momentary thrill. The overuse of jump scares in ghost hunting shows can have a negative impact on the credibility of the content. When the focus is on creating cheap thrills rather than conducting thorough investigations, the audience might begin to question the authenticity of the paranormal claims being made. The reliance on jump scares can make it seem as though the show is more interested in entertainment than in serious exploration of the supernatural. Moreover, these tactics tend to lead to a sense of distrust amongst viewers. If the audience feels like they're being manipulated into feeling scared rather than being presented with genuine evidence, they might start to doubt the legitimacy of the entire show. This skepticism can extend beyond the individual show to the broader genre of ghost hunting content, undermining the credibility of the more serious investigations. Editing and sound design play a crucial role in creating jump scares in a ghost hunting show. In many cases, the scare is amplified by sudden cuts, quick zooms, or jarring sound effects that are added in post production. These elements are designed to catch the audience off guard, creating a momentary shock that would be mistaken for genuine fear. Sound design, in particular, is a powerful tool in ghost hunting shows. The use of eerie background music, sudden loud noises, and distorted audio can all contribute to the sense of unease and anticipation that precedes a jump scare. However, this reliance on sound effects can also detract from the authenticity of the investigation. When a scare is more about the sound design than the actual content, it raises questions about the validity of the paranormal evidence that's being shown. So, while jump scares can be an effective tool for creating suspense and excitement in ghost hunting shows, they can also come with significant drawbacks. When overused or poorly executed, they can undermine the credibility of the content and lead to audience skepticism. For ghost hunting shows and documentaries to be taken seriously, it is essential that they focus on providing substantive evidence based investigations using pretty good technology rather than relying on cheap thrills to keep the viewers engaged. Ultimately, if your paranormal investigations are for the purpose of entertainment from a theatrical standpoint, jump scares should be used sparingly and with purpose, enhancing the narrative rather than distracting from it. By prioritizing genuine exploration of a paranormal over momentary shocks, ghost hunting content can maintain its appeal while also earning the trust and respect of its audiences. Jump scares have become a staple in horror movies and TV shows, often employed as a quick and easy way to elicit fear from the audience. And while they can be effective when used sparingly and creatively over time, certain tropes and cliches have emerged that make these scares predictable, and in some cases less impactful. Let's explore how some of those common tropes and cliches associated with jump scares in movies and TV shows. One of the most overused jump scare cliches is the thing from a door slamming, a phone ringing. The noise is usually much louder than the surrounding sounds, creating a jarring scare. Also known as a false scare is another common trope where the tension is built up, leading the audience to expect a frightening event, only for the scare to be something mundane or harmless, like a cat. Or a friend. A character slowly approaches a closed door, with the camera angle suggesting that something terrifying is waiting on the other side. The character opens the door, and instead of a monster or a ghost, it's just a harmless object or another character standing there. I know, cliche. How about the mirror scare? The mirror scare is a classic horror trope where a character looks into a mirror and upon looking away and then back again, suddenly sees something frightening reflected behind them. This trope plays on the fear of something being in your blind spot, catching both the character and the audience off guard. So a character in a horror movie might be washing their face, brushing their teeth in front of a bathroom mirror. They lean down, and when they straighten up, the reflection reveals a ghostly figure standing behind them, only for it to disappear when they turn around.
Oh, don't be a putz, David.
I know, I crapped my pants too. The quiet bang trope is a structured setup commonly used to create a jump scare. The scene starts off slow and quiet, with minimal sound and deliberate pacing, allowing the tension to build footsteps and perhaps some faint, eerie background noise. The tension builds over several seconds or even minutes. You might hear a sound effect slowly rising in the background. In the industry, we call that risers. Pretty on the nose. But then you hear bang or wah. A loud or sudden movement happens, delivering the scare. The quiet bang. Pretty cool, huh? Another scare typically happens in confined spaces, like under a bed, inside a closet, or right through a wall. While these tropes and cliches can be effective in the short term, their overuse has made them predictable, and in some cases less effective. Modern audiences, familiar with the patterns, often see the jump scare coming, which can diminish the impact. For horror to remain truly terrifying, filmmakers and creators need to find new and innovative ways to surprise and scare their audiences without relying on these well-worn tricks. Now, this is a part that I'm extremely excited about. We're going to be talking about jump scares in video games. Jump scares in video games have become a popular tool for creating intense moments of fear and surprise. Unlike in movies or TV shows, video games place their player directly in control, making the experience much more immersive and personal. This interactivity amplifies the effect of jump scares, as players are more likely to get caught off guard when they feel directly involved in the action. Let's explore how these scares are used in video game design and their impact on gameplay. One of the key differences between video games and other forms of media is interactivity. In a game, the player's actions and decisions drive the experience, which make jump scares more personal and impactful. When a player is fully engaged, like navigating dark corridors, solving puzzles, managing resources, they're more likely to get caught off guard by a sudden scare. This element of surprise is heightened because players are actively participating in the game, making the scare feel more immediate and real. One specific jump scare comes to mind, and it always comes to mind, especially if you're familiar with genre. In Resident Evil, when the dogs jump through the windows, that caught everyone off guard. It was fantastic. Video games often use jump scares as a tool for building atmosphere and tension. Developers carefully design environments that keep the players on edge, using lighting, sounds, and pacing to create an unsettling mood. The fear of impending jump scares can be just as effective as the scare itself. Players become more anxious and paranoid, anticipating that something could happen at any moment. For example, Silent Hill 2. The game's foggy, desolate environment and eerie sound design create a constant sense of dread. Players move cautiously, knowing that a monster could suddenly appear from the mist, or that radio static could signal an approaching threat, leading to a jump scare. Unlike in movies where the audience is a passive observer, video games give players a sense of agency. This means that when a jump scare happens, the player's reaction can directly influence what the outcome is. For example, if a monster suddenly appears and the player must quickly decide whether to fight, flee, or hide, this urgency can lead to an adrenaline pumping moment where the jump scare is just the beginning of a larger challenge. In Outlast, players have no weapons but must rely on stealth to survive. When a jump scare occurs, such as the lunatic suddenly appearing in the dark corridor, the player must quickly decide how to escape, heightening the tension and fear. Sound and visual cues play a crucial role in the effectiveness of jump scares in video games. Developers often use audio cues such as loud noises or unsettling music to signal a scare. Similarly, visual elements like a sudden change in lighting, unexpected movements, or the appearance of the monster can create a powerful scare. These elements work together to create an immersive experience that keeps players right on the edge. Like in Dead Space, the game uses sudden noises like the clanging of pipes or the distant roar of a monster to put the players on edge. Coupled with the dim, flickering lights and the sudden appearance of necromorphs, man, these elements create terrifying experiences that rely heavily on jump scares. But there is a caveat. While jump scares can enhance the horror experience, they can also impact gameplay in different ways. For some players, frequent jump scares can lead to anxiety or frustration, especially if they're used excessively or without the proper build-up. However, when used strategically, jump scares can add to the game's challenge, forcing players to stay alert and adapt quickly to unexpected threats. In Five Nights at Freddy's, jump scares are basically the central mechanic. The game's tension comes from managing resources and timing while trying to prevent the animatronic characters from getting too close. When a jump scare happens, it usually means that the player has failed to manage the situation correctly, leading to the game over. This use of jump scares as a gameplay mechanic keeps players on edge and fully engaged. Now, I did play the first one. I haven't really played the other ones. I like to have more control in the movement of my character rather than being in a seated position and just a victim to what's happening. So jump scares can be effective, but they can also detract from the overall storytelling if they're overused. Some games strike a balance by using jump scares sparingly, allowing for more atmospheric horror and psychological tension to build. Others may rely heavily on jump scares, which can sometimes feel cheap and repetitive if not executed well. The challenge for some game developers is to use the jump scares in a way that complements the story and enhances the overall experience without becoming predictable or tiresome. For example, in The Last of Us, jump scares are used sparingly, allowing the game's emotional narrative and character development to take center stage. And when a scare does happen, it feels earned and contributes to the tension, rather than serving as a cheap shock. Jump scares in video games are a powerful tool that, when used effectively, can create unforgettable moments of fear and tension. The interactivity of games make the scares even more personal and impactful, but the developers must balance their use to avoid the over-reliance on cheap shocks. By integrating jump scares into a gameplay and narrative in meaningful ways, games can provide a horror experience that is both thrilling and immersive. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.